Microsoft admitted that they have data centers that aren't lit up because there's not enough power, right? So they have GPUs in racks, but they can't turn them on because it takes the power plants and takes the energy companies years to months or many years to bring up capacity. So it doesn't matter if you've got a data center built and you've plugged in the GPUs. If you can't get enough power from the grid, you can't run it. So that's why Elon and his Colossus, he went and got, was it like 28 or 32 methane gas generators illegally and is running them illegally.
Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name is Jeff. I'm here with Peter Lin. Practical AI is brought to you by Pocket AI. Imagine you're wasting millions on brute force AI cycles. That's more data, leads to more training, more GPUs, more models, and still no guarantee it works in production. Well, that's the old way. It's brute force. With Pocket AI, you can use surgical precision on the weights within your model. Pocket AI is the first visualizing and surgical platform that lets you see and edit individual weights like a brain surgeon operating on neurons. Peter, want to bring you talk a little bit about KimiK2 and the thinking model, but before that, we've got some positives and negatives on the Meta and OpenAI side. Tell us a little bit about Meta's big, huge news announcement.
So the big announcement is Jan LeCun, one of the three godfathers, has decided to leave Meta, which probably was coming sooner than later. And so he's going to launch his own startup, which is good.
Now, Jan has kind of been working on a different architecture outside of transformers.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about in the past. We don't have to get too much into it, but just remind us again a little bit what's kind of fascinating him right now.
Yeah, so 2 years back, he kind of said, I'm over LLMs, which probably didn't sit well with Mark Zuckerberg. But so his approach is what's called joint embedding predictive model. So it's a JEPA. So that was the first version. There was VJEPA, which is video. Then there's VJEPA 2, and now it's LIJEPA, which is the next version. So it's the fourth version. The idea is that you try to learn concepts and then use that as the ground to learn reasoning. So it's very different than transformers.
Got it. Okay, so we'll probably cover that in the future here. And on another quick news note, we have just more drama around OpenAI. Um, I just highlighted something that kind of popped up here. It's amazing the amount of money we're talking about. Um, he Altman wants to spend 1.4 trillion on
Trillion.
data
Yeah.
centers, and yet its annual revenue is barely at the $20 billion mark.
Yeah.
Um, Too big to fail, or what? What's
No,
the matter?
it's pure fallacy because like last week, Microsoft admitted that they have data centers that aren't lit up because there's not enough power, right? So they have GPUs in racks, but they can't turn them on because it takes the power plants and takes the energy companies years to months or many years to bring up capacity. So it doesn't matter if you've got a data center built and you've plugged in the GPUs. If you can't get enough power from the grid, you can't run it. So that's why Elon and his Colossus, he went and got, was it like 28 or 32 methane gas generators illegally and is running them illegally and poisoning people and kids in that area, which they're still doing and no one's shutting them down.
Yeah. So we've got a power thing, which we've talked
Yeah.
about, but in the case of OpenAI, we've got uh, a business that doesn't make any sense. Like you can't
Yeah.
spend that much money and bring in that little money and then expect that you're going to have a viable business someday.
Yeah.
So is this going to be bailed out?
I hope not. But knowing how big businesses work, I mean, we look at the savings and loan scandal in the 80s. We
Hmm.
look at financial meltdown with the subprime thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, big business gets bailed out.
yeah,
Corporate welfare is fine, but helping humans is not apparently. So
yeah. Okay, well, my guess is that they'll probably tie themselves in as deeply as they can into the Defense Department, and then that'll be
oh
the.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're already doing it. So
Yeah, yeah. Good. All right, well, let's talk about a more interesting topic, and that is KimiK2. Tell us a little bit what this project is, and we'll get into a little bit of the details, but what is KimiK2 and what are they trying to do?
so KimiK2 just came out, and it's a open source, open weights model, which is pretty cool because it's open. And they've done a minor tweak, incremental improvement to how thinking works. So basically, what they've done is they've kind of tweaked it so that in the reasoning process, it takes smaller steps and tries to validate the steps. And from what they've shown is that like it's it's better at long sequence kind of reasoning as a result. And I predict that all the other labs will copy this.
Let me just say quickly, not on this page, but the Kimi K2 model is over 1 trillion parameters, so it's a
Yeah.
large model, um, and it's doing a lot of stuff. And in our conversation before this, you reminded me that ChatGPT, adding the thinking component is not necessarily all that new. So explain how ChatGPT or some of the classic thinking methods have been integrated into these models and how that
Yeah.
works in particular.
So all this came from kind of the language chaining, or chain of thought or tree of thought, where you give it a prompt and you keep feeding the output back in with some more prompting hints, right? So you say, what is the solution to this problem? It generates some output. Then you feed it back in with some additional, like, here's the first result. Validate this result or generate a new result. And so this is multiple times. And this is when Jensen mentioned that reasoning models have a 10 or 100x increase in tokens. This is what he's talking about, because you feed it through one time, you take the whole entire thing, you feed it back in, so now it's double that, and then you take that whole thing, you feed it back in, so now it's one plus the second one, and now the third time. So if you do it 10 times, you've ballooned the number of tokens, obviously exponentially, because you're adding everything, every iteration. And if you keep doing that, you eventually run to the point where you go you're so big that the context can't fit it.
So you get bound by the context window, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we have a math problem, let's say 2 plus 2 times 3. Okay. So that is an easy enough math problem, but it's a complicated enough math problem because it depends on where you put the parentheses,
Yeah.
probably, and everything, right? So in the OpenAI or Anthropic or in their thinking method,
Hmm.
essentially it would do the whole problem and then feed that whole thing back in and say, hey,
Yeah.
I got 12. And let's try it again. And the next time, let's say, hey, I got a different number. I got 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would eventually either poop out or it would basically settle on a result. And
Yeah.
what you're saying is that the Kimi K2 method is at each junction or at shorter junctions along the way, it'll basically say, okay, 2 plus 2. Okay, is this in parentheses or is it not? Let's validate that it's
Yeah.
that. And then once we get that validated, then we're going to go again, go to the 3 times 3, and then we get the number 12, and we're going to feed that whole thing back in.
Yeah.
So it's doing validation at a much more granular level.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And is this harder to do? Is this something that everyone will
No,
just pick up
it's
on?
it's a nice incremental improvement, right? So when chain of thought and tree of thought came out, like that was a quick and easy way to use in context learning, this whole like prompt injection thing, to make it do and think more over the problem, right? And it didn't require you to modify the actual model itself. Whereas this KimiK2 thing, you do have to modify because now you're doing these smaller chunks of validation. And so you could probably do with just engineering your prompt, but that probably isn't sufficient. So you do need to make some adjustments to the model itself so that you're doing these little smaller step validations.
Got it. So do you think all the rest of them will kind of fall in line and kind of build this approach to their models?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, if unless you're dumb, I mean, you would definitely look at it and then you
okay.
would try to improve it.
And do you think this is a change that's hard to make once you've committed to the old way of doing it, or is this something
No,
that
I
should
mean the
be
code's already out there, so you just download it and use it.
okay?
It's open source. That's why it's great.
Right.
Someone did the work. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just use it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. Well, more advancements and incremental steps. It seems like we're getting those all the time. We do want to hit that new JEPA thing at some point, so we'll hit that as a future topic. But Peter, thanks. Good topic today. We will be back next time with another topic. If you have any questions, let us know. You can also follow us on Spotify. We are there. Until next time. Thanks, everybody.